Okay, so here is Illustrator again. The palettes I have open, everything is listed under the windows if you need it. Okay, so everything that you see up here, all these pieces, controls, toolbars, everything that you can see. Toolbars are advanced, so it goes to the section. If you hit basic, it just minimizes the amount of tools you have, so I like to leave it open. There's a magnifying glass on the bottom right. I can use that one to click in. Whatever you have selected is going to place it. Right next to it is a hand tool, and I can move that over so I can click on there. There's keystrokes that you can do when you leave them open. It'll show you how they're located, but it'll set that up pretty quickly. Holding the mouse down, these little corner things tell you there are more tools hidden inside that tool. Here's the rectangle tool. So right now there's nothing selected. If I look at my layers palette, I have a lot of layers. I'll just hide all those for now. And I can give myself a new layer just for the demonstration. And I'm just going to click and make a rectangle shape right there. And you can see this is the fill. The stroke is set to none. If I click on this, it's going back to the default. If now I use Command plus to zoom in, it'll zoom in on whatever is selected. And instead of clicking the hand over here, if I hold the space bar down, it allows me to move this up here. And now I have the selection tool. Can you guys hear me in the classroom if you have that? Okay. So I'm going to take off the inside and just do an option to duplicate it. And Shift key keeps it coming straight. You see the purple line comes down. And that gives me that selection. I can go ahead and make another one for this interior piece that he has. So now I have three pieces, and I'm not sure if they're all lined up. So I'm just going to click and select all three of them. And up at the top toolbar, when you have the control panel open under Windows, you'll see Control. It gives you these options here that help me locate it, and right next to it is one that has the Align To, so it lets me see that to the key object. So I'm just going to click on the center, and you can see it jumped over a little bit. Before I group it together with Pathfinder, or merge it together, I'm just going to take it and take this one and do an option and set it over here. Since it's the same width and I don't have to worry about it, I'm just going to drag this down, and you'll see these smart guides line everything up at the bottom. And I'm going to do the same with the letter B. I'm interpreting his illustration to think that he wanted those the same. I'm not sure if it's true. So now I have two verticals. I'm going to make this the B side on here, so I have to interpret that as well. So I take the pen tool, which is now a new tool located right here, and it's very simple. I'm just going to click on the start here, but before I click on there, I want to deselect everything. So we either click on the selection tool and click off of everything. I've already selected the pen tool, so I'm going to just hold the command key down. It turns into a direct selection tool and just click, and you notice this disappeared, so it's not selected. I just like to do that so I don't have anything in the way. So now I just clicked one time there, and I'm going all the way around this, and I'm going to go at the midpoint, which I think is there, and click and drag the mouse. This gives a curve point. These are handles that come out. If I hold the Shift key, they go perpendicular or horizontal depending on which direction you drag it. So again, I'm anticipating what he's showing me in this sketch. I can see it comes down too low, so I'm going to go to Edit Undo, which is also Command Z. So I'm going to do the keystroke from now on. But there it is, a little narrower. Hold that Shift key down, and then come this direction. Okay, and let's see. I think he has. I'm going to make a curve in there, but I'm just going to go straight with these 2 points. Shift key keeps everything perpendicular or straight. So now I'm coming down at the bottom here, and again I move it over to the side just to hit the Shift key so you can see it, and then come to this corner piece. Now I know this is going to be connected to here, so I'm just going to overlap the shape and come right back here. So I know that's going to be wrapped into the shape. I don't have to worry about that. But I do want it to be right on there, so I'm going to click on this vertical line. Do the same thing. Wherever the point is, I can move it by holding the space bar down. It lets me move the whole thing. And now I still have the handle as long as I don't let go of the mouse. And if you do, just undo it and try it again. So there's that piece. So I click here. I'm coming up to this one. And I'm going to go right where it intersects there and come into the middle of this. And Shift key that. And come up to this one. Now here I'm just going to click and drag just to try to finish that off. You can see it's up here. It's a curved point because I started dragging the points. You'll get used to using the pen tool. We're just kind of throwing you into it right now. But now I have these shapes. I'll just back up just once. If I select them all by clicking and dragging a selection box around them, you can see I can give it all a color just so you can see it from the background. Okay. So now I'm going to select these two. If I just draw a box around two of them at the top, it'll show up. And I have the window open, but if you get lost, it's under Window, Pathfinder. The checkbox means it's open. So if it's hidden, it'll just open up once. If I do it again, it'll disappear. So these are selected. I just go to, you have all these options. I'm going to go to Unite, and that builds that up together. I see this, and I don't like the way that came out, so I'm going to zoom into it, depending on how you select it. And there's a tool next to this called Direct Selection. And I'm going to click just on those points. If you notice, just that point is selected with this little widget. And I want another one. In order to group them together, while you're collecting them, I'm going to Shift key that. Now I can curve this and just drag that. So if you remember, he had a curve in there. Not sure if he wanted it, but that's what he's given me to work with. So that's that one. This one over here, just select it. I'm just moving it so you can see it. To put it right back where it was, I just go to Command Z, puts it right back. And here's the Unite. So now I have those pieces there. I'm going to take the shape tool for the box and just draw a box around this. Again, as I draw this, I can hold the space bar and move it around and still keep the mouse held down. So it's pretty close. That's why you want to be really accurate with your drawings all the way through. Here's fill in the stroke. I just don't want that fill, so I'm going to click that red box button right there. That gives me that selection. I'm going to do the same with these. I'm just going to select them and turn off the fill so I can see through it. Okay. So far so good. Now I just have to put these little lines in here. This is where it gets kind of tricky. So I'm just going to Command minus to take a distance back. Another tool up here, it looks like a little diagonal line. It's a line segment tool. So I'm just going to click and drag. And like I said, the Shift key will automatically make it at 45-degree angle. I'm assuming he's making this at 45, and there's the thickness to it. It's a blue color, so I'm just going to come over here, make sure this is in the foreground, and click on blue, and space bar so I can move this down. So I want this to be able to cover the whole thing, so I want to make sure I have it long enough. If I don't, it'll be a little tricky. Direct Selection tool is the second one. I'll just grab that point and extend it out a little bit, like so. Okay, so now this is the crazy part. I'm going to set this up so it covers that part of the T right here, and just copy it, Option, and go to where I think the next one is, and hold the Shift key down so it stays straight. And they're all variable, so I'm going to keep it there. And I duplicate it by holding Command and D, and it'll duplicate all these down like this. There's a couple ways to do this. This is probably the easiest. I'll extend it a little bit. So now I have all these lines. This is like an old school way to do it, but it's very effective. Okay. He has a white background in there. If I trap this, I want to make sure that it has a white background. So I'll just go ahead and take a shape. Make the shape as big as the lettering there. Okay. And I'll give it a color just so you can see it. And I'm going to go to Object, Arrange. This is so you can put things in front or behind things, and send this to the back. While it's still selected, I'm going to gather up all these blue pieces. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down and just select all these blue pieces. And just go to Object and Group. So you can see this is what that is. I move it, put it back, just go Undo, Move. And I want to arrange this now. So I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, and just send this all the way to the back. Stacking order. Okay? So hopefully I didn't lose you, but now I have these three letters. So I'm going to Shift key and click right on the point, or line segment of it. Right, like so. And I'll give it a color just so you can see it. Okay? And in this case, I wanted to trap it, so there's a couple things. There's called the clipping mask and a compound path. And a path is what you've made. You're just going to make them all connected, so I'm going to hit Make. You can't see any difference to it. but I'll turn off the selection box. It's still selected, and I'm going to shift key and select the lines, 45-degree angle lines in the box behind it. And now just go to Object and hit Make, and there it goes where it has the dotted lines behind it, and it's one piece. I can always go back and change that to be white simply by what they call isolation mode. When I double click on it, it turns into a piece, and right up here you can see it goes from layer 4 to the clipping group. If I double click it again, it'll keep breaking it apart until I can select it on its own, which is that piece. And instead of making it white, I'll just make it a color and hit Escape, or hit the arrow keys up here, and you can see it updated it to there. So that's how that's done. I'll do it again. I'll double click on it. It's in this clipping group. And remember, Object, you went to clipping group here. Once I'm inside, I can't break it apart though. Double click on the item again, and here it is. Here's the color. It'll open up these color pickers that you can choose. If I hit Escape, it'll go all the way out. So now I have that piece. This background is got a fill of a blue, so I'll give it a blue color. And again, Object Arrange, send to back. Okay, but sometimes it's hard to see what's going on, so I can either take the fill out, or I can go to Object and hide selection. So now I have this character, and he's got like a little shadow in there, drop shadow. So it gets a little tricky there, but again, it's throwing a lot at you. But here's the appearance panel, and this is this window that shows up. There's these fill and stroke and everything that's down here. It's selected, so I'm going to click on this and do a selection, so you can stylize and drop shadows where this is at. Move this up here, and I'll hit Preview, and you can see the color is red. It shows the distance in picas and points, so I'm going to minimize this just a little bit, not too much, and scooch this over. So I'm clicking in there and using the arrow key on the keyboard just to simplify that a little bit. And I can adjust that, not too bad. And this gives you the size of it for it. I'll click it, go black, click OK, and just go to Object. And if you remember, it'll show all, or Object, or hide. Here, show all. So now I have that piece placed in there. Okay. So for that purpose, I'll just zoom out, make a copy of it, and zoom in a bit. And it looks pretty good. And but I can go to Object and expand appearance is what happens. And Object and ungroup this. So this is a little step further. So now the shadow is separate on here, so you can see this. I can manipulate this, and I'm just going to click and drag the point because he has it so it goes to that selection. But for our purposes, I'm just going to leave it at that section there for you now. Now the layers are hidden, so I can hide the scan. I can hit the Tab key to take that apart, and now I want to make a picture to turn in, so it's Command-Shift 4. It gives me the crosshair. I just draw a box around that, and there I have a picture of it, and it goes all the way to my desktop. And here's the picture of that logo to turn that in. Very good.